Hello and welcome to the 21st episode of the 5th season of Next Generation's First Generations, where every episode of Star Trek The Next Generation gets a commentary on the 30th anniversary of its release. Today's episode is episode 21 of season 5, The Perfect Mate, and we have a true round table again this time. As always, Sascha is here with us.
Hello.
And we have returning guests, Eddie.
Hello.
And Jem.
Hi.
So you get 4 hosts in 3 locations.
Whoa. It's happened. We stepped out of the 1990s, bringing our tape recorder and microphone to a VHS tape and a tube TV, all the way to an official Zoom meeting. What is wrong with us, man? This is where COVID has taken us.
We become zombies.
Yes. Okay, so what we're gonna do, please sync up your device, or you're welcome to listen along. We are gonna give you countdown 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so you can queue up on our Netflix version. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. Beautiful marble planet.
Mm-hmm.
We are looking to solve a diplomatic crisis between two sides who are at war at a midpoint planet.
Herod 4.
Herod 4, that's
Every
right.
time there's a planet with a name on it or with a number on it, I always wonder what's up with the other 3 or with the other planets.
This is another example of rich people that are not in the Federation using the Federation's flagship to do whatever they want to do with it.
Okay.
And in this instance, it's a very thin line between trafficking somebody and pulling off a diplomatic save between these 2 planets. Basically, they have a woman with them that has been groomed from childhood to be the wife of somebody on another planet, which at this point Picard isn't aware of. But her species are very, very popular, and there are some Ferengi out there that are waiting to get a hold of this woman.
And right now the Ferengi are just kind of playing injured. They asked for help to be rescued, so of course they're going to do the good thing and, beam them aboard and do their thing.
And we'll find out this is a typical ploy of Ferengi to get into places that they would just not be allowed into with diplomatic negotiation.
Wait, did they just beam or did they just destroy that ship?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And you'll recognize... Oh, go ahead, Eddie.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm good.
Okay. One of those 2 Ferengi is Max Groydenchik, who played Rom on Deep Space Nine.
Ah.
Yes. You know who I saw in Deep
Hey,
Space?
is that Dex?
No,
Ah.
he's long gone. I
Sad.
think he's on to other things right about now. You know who I saw in Deep Space Nine playing a Klingon was Tim Russ, of all people.
Yep.
Took me a while to figure it out, but there he was.
Oh,
So
wow, from Voyager.
Yeah, this show's really loyal in bringing a lot of their characters back, or their actors back as secondary support characters for one-off people.
Oh,
Yeah.
the burn. This is not what we're used to, but I guess it'll do. I never
Yeah.
knew that Ferengi were such a wealthy race. Or is it just because
They're not.
Okay.
They're kind of like capitalists, I guess you could say.
Okay.
So they're in for exploiting other people for their profit. So that means they're going to be really snubbish to folks if there's no profit to be made in the situation.
Okay.
So this episode came out April 26, 1992, directed by Cliff Boyle. And we have Jay Cataway doing the music. And this is a fun little episode because it plays upon some really core beliefs and how you feel the prime directive should be applied versus is it okay for me to go along with this because the rules say I can versus doing what's right morally, ethically. And we have a really nice conversation a little later on between Picard and Beverly, where Picard is kind of pulling the whole, we have to follow the prime directive. This is what their culture does. And Beverly goes, yeah, you're buying and selling people. This is not okay. So they don't go too far into this too often, but when they do, it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, I think the Beverly conversation is the only reason why they put Picard in the middle of this. It's not, to me, it's not interesting to see if Picard will say no for the 900th time to consensual sex. Because we already know that he will, because he has every other time. They play a little bit with this woman who was played by Famke Janssen, who will later go on to be in the X-Men movies. They play a little bit with her and Riker being together. But it would have been interesting to have her have imprinted upon Geordi or Worf, because then you would have characters that you don't know what they would do in that situation. You already know how Picard is going to act, and he acts the way you know that he's going to act. And that takes a little bit of the bite away of this for me.
And
So
converse to that, oh, sorry, Sash. I just want to say that Riker is kind of the polar opposite. So he's almost always going to be interested in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Almost.
Consensual or not.
Yeah.
So we're now in the scene where the ambassador and Geordi and Picard are looking at this ceremony set on the holodeck where the diplomatic actions are going to take place. Here we have the cargo bay now where the Ferengi are going to inspect the most valuable cargo. Now, right now, we don't technically know what this is. So if you've never watched this episode, spoilers, that's a person in there.
That's totally a phoenix egg looking thing.
It is very much a phoenix egg. Yes.
That's cool.
That's just ironic that she would go on to play Phoenix in the X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do appreciate the set that they have there in the background that they just came out of.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Pretty elaborate.
It actually reminded me of something out of Stargate, the TV series.
Actually, I was thinking it looked a lot like a setup for like East Indian weddings.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really interesting since this is supposed to be your perfect mate. And I don't know if that was intentional or not.
It might be.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say East Indian wedding / a boudoir. So
We're about to have our first mention by Geordi of cetacean ops that we didn't get to see until Lower Decks, but we knew that the Enterprise had it. This is where the dolphin navigators hang out.
This empty barrel is so heavy.
Hey, that's the same barrel that almost killed Worf.
Yep.
Now, if the barrel is truly that heavy to move, why are they so wobbly? That's what I want to know.
Right? They should be a little bit more stable to stand on.
They could have at least filled them with sand. So this, I'm really surprised how accommodating Picard is towards this guy's behavior, letting him just hang off of everybody. Listen, have you seen the dolphins yet?
Yep.
Dolphins.
Yes, there are dolphins on the Enterprise, people. And I hadn't caught on to that until very late in the game.
I'm sure that I'll find out later, but I'm curious if Troy has any kind of appearance in this, because I think that would be a really interesting perspective to get.
She is not in this episode.
Wow.
I think just to kind of make the storytelling a little cleaner.
Okay.
Because all she would have to do is saying, yes, this character wants to follow through. There's no problem here. Oh, here we go. Whoa, those wobbly containers.
Yeah. Wackadoo
The ones that
Ferengi.
were so hard to move.
And here we go. This egg, it's falling. It's falling. It's falling. No, slow motion fall.
I just want to hear Daft Punk's Get Lucky as soon as it starts to open.
That would be hilarious. A blue alien comes out with techno shades and musical instrument. And the guy in the robe on the side there is the evil music producer.
What is the meaning of this? I'm incredibly old and shiny.
Put a guard on the door. Why didn't they put a guard on the door earlier? I mean,
I know.
This ship has just a bad history of Ferengi getting into places where they shouldn't be. Oh.
Thanks, Ariel.
Now, I looked this up just because it feels like she's kind of doing her bit. Famke Janssen is 3 years older than Julia Roberts, but she comes off very Julia Roberts-y in this.
She really does.
Oh, those trill spots. I'm in love.
So if I understood correctly, they asked what they'd want this person to look like. Like, I hope we got it right. So who did they specifically make this person for?
Ulrich Cavall, I think, is the person.
Yeah, we haven't seen the guy she's going to be given to yet, but what we find out is that she was selected when she was 4 years old and has been trained for this since then.
She's been trained to be a present for this diplomat they're about to meet. And when she was brought out of stasis for half a second, she thought Picard was this diplomat. Oh, a vault. Okay.
So it said that, so she's an empath. Was she born an empath or was she trained to be an empath?
Born as an empath.
Okay.
They go on to say later in the episode, like 1 every 80 years is a female empath born, but men are quite common. So all of a sudden they're becoming like a highly prized person within their society.
Well, that's why I think it would be interesting if Troy would be a part of this episode, since she is also an empath.
So they're having a brief conversation right there with Riker taking the lead as why are we transporting people like property? And they kind of go into explanations of what's going on. And
yeah, it's an interesting back and forth of property versus gift. And I think, well, I can't hear anything. I don't know if she's called Kamala, like Kamala Harris, or if she says it differently. But I lost my train of thought. I think it was her that said gift rather than property, but I missed it. It might have been the guy that said it.
Yeah, no, it was the guy that was saying it. But go ahead.
I do love that she says that she's a mutant.
Yeah, I caught that too, and I really like that.
Did she know she got the part already? No.
There is a time machine.
So the long story, the point of this conversation is that she's got a security seal on her. Let's use that. It's she's unopened merchandise. And if she interacts with the wrong person for too long, she'll imprint on that person and she won't imprint on the person that she is meant to be partnered with. So now they are going to put her in a room, escorted by Riker. This is a lot of trust by Picard, by the way.
What I was going to say is that there was a very important conversation that just happened between Kamala and Picard, where Picard was very careful to say, and you do this of your own accord. And she didn't necessarily answer it. She said, this is my sole purpose in life. But that doesn't necessarily mean that she wants to do it. It's her job to do it.
And the boss is right there too.
Yeah. Now she's explaining to Riker that, she's going through a sexual maturation phase where she puts off these pheromones that drive people crazy. And he is looking intrigued, but he knows the boundaries. he's not going to put moves on the mission, not yet. He does in the past. He has. Remember the Irish princess from Clone Planet?
No, Riker,
Whoa,
no.
she kissed him
You
for the
did.
record.
Oh, okay. She kissed him, not he kissed her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this scene's really important because it sets up that your most sexualized character knows it's his job to exercise restraint, that he can't control himself around this incredibly desirable woman.
And good for him. His journey on the show has taken him to this point, and hopefully,
Yeah. But it really paints a very awkward picture of men can't help themselves. They just have women being thrown at them.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot of male privilege here in this episode.
It's making me think of the song from Into the Woods, where after the baker's wife and the prince get together. Was that him? Was that me? Did a prince just kiss me and kiss me? And did I kiss him back?
Oh, look at that. I know my role in history, but it's going to be a long voyage. Now, Riker's going to say something absolutely hilarious here. So he's going to report into the bridge, and he needs to burn off some steam. So if you need me, I'm going to be in the holodeck.
Holodeck 4. That's where people go, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I bet the janitor's like, "Oh, great, got to clean up holodeck 4 a little bit."
Like, don't take a black light to
exactly.
holodeck 4.
Anytime Riker announces he's going in there, that's kind of their code.
Yep.
At least we know from Deep Space Nine that he can't really like make a proxy of her, because you need to have like a body scanning cube to do that.
Yeah. Here's that very important conversation between Beverly and Riker. And I think this is the first time they've had breakfast together too.
No, it's not.
No?
They had breakfast in the Robin Hood episode when what's her name came on the ship.
Beverly just comes out guns a-blazing calling the ambassador a slave trader.
But it's for peace. What's that one Greek play where all the women hold off on sex to stop the war? I feel like it's the opposite of that. It's like, we're giving you sex for peace.
So the captain's going to have a conversation with Kamala. Basically, he needs to feel reassured that she is doing this under her own consent.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious what was going on in the 90s at this time that they felt like this was an important thing to talk about, because they're definitely opening up in a very important conversation. And I wonder if it was a response to anything going on at the time.
No, that's a really good question. Well, I know this would have been February of 1992. Some of the big things that were coming down then were what was that legislation where they were to reserve a certain number of positions to minorities? What was that? Affirmative action. Yeah, that was pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
The abortion movement really started picking up then.
That's true.
I also think that equal rights for women in the workplace was really kind of taking steam too. So equal pay for different genders. So I know that the 90s really revisited and kind of added a second or third chapter to a lot of the things that I just brought up, where people were talking about it. And I remember growing up that these issues were starting to normalize, because I thought, oh, well, this is just how the world is. Because 92, I'm 12, 13. So I don't really know what else is going on.
Yeah.
Also, I think around that time is when Somalia had a complete government collapse.
I think you're right.
So, I mean, that's not an exact correlation, but things just went awry. And with that, I can see where slavery and other things that are, in modern society are really frowned upon could happen.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we're about 2 years away from the end of apartheid with Mandela getting out of jail.
So
Good.
Oh, yeah. So they're still going into that back and forth. Is this under your consent? Is this of your own accord? And she's like, this is what I was born to do. Yet again, though, she never says, I am okay with this. She's just like, this is who I am. And I think it would be interesting if Picard brought up the question, well, do you want to change? Do you want that to be who you are? I don't think that question's come up yet.
Mhm.
It's just that, is this of your own accord? Can't say. This is just who I am. It's like asking a Klingon to be nonviolent. Well, there are nonviolent Klingons.
There are, yeah. I kind of view it from the other point of view, where this is the stereotypical horny woman trapped in a room that you shouldn't talk to, otherwise she'll be bad.
It's unfortunate.
It's kind of like the old tropes you see from the 50s and the 60s describing beatnik women and free love. They'll sleep with anyone and anything at the drop of a hat, and they have no values whatsoever. So you have to lock them away.
And we're exploring this in New Trek with Orion characters like Ensign Tendi. And also Star Trek Continues did a kind of a version of this story where it was on Kirk's Enterprise, where an Orion woman had come on who was escaping an arranged marriage to basically a pimp. And the Federation said, no, you have to give her back. And she ended up blowing that guy's ship up and sacrificing herself and him.
Mm-hmm.
And want to be with him.
We also saw this exact story play out on the Enterprise, the TV show Enterprise, where Trip discovers in a cargo container that they were hauling a person to be a gift in an arranged marriage.
Oh, I do remember that.
Mhm.
I remember that.
So here we go. Data is the escort to make sure that no horny guys go after her. And all the men in 10 Forward are looking at her. For some reason, there's a whole bunch of miners.
Oh, snap. Hello.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of ugly, mean, sex-depraved construction workers in 10 Forward, and they are hitting her up.
It's like somebody walking into a bar at like 1:30.
Mhm.
Everybody's got beer goggles on, except she's pretty.
Yeah. Now, here's the funny part of all of this is that her response is not typical to normal human behavior. Now, obviously, she's not human. She wants to accommodate and play to the crowd. And so she's going to flirt right back with these guys. She wants to have them, who wants a drink, sort of thing. If I don't recall, I think a fight breaks out here, just about.
Yes. I like that they've got like partially the Cardassian makeup, a little bit of Tellarite, but they really have Cardassian makeup on. It's kind of weird, just a different color.
Now notice she's making intense direct eye contact with Worf, and I think she's gonna bark at him or something.
Yeah.
Oh, she's seductive growl. So this character is really creating problems everywhere she goes.
I wonder if she knows.
Yes, she does.
Okay.
Well, her job is to get people excited. And
Once
she's just waiting for that one person to lock it in.
Once she's with her partner, this won't happen anymore. But also, what she's kind of said is, I can do this until I'm partnered with this guy, and I'd like to do this, but I don't think that the people around her are morally okay with that, because their job wasn't to this is why it's so messed up. Like, everything about this is, it's like she wasn't supposed to have any kind of sexual agency, she was supposed to be locked in an egg until she got to this guy. Because she got out early, it's her say if she has like this chance to kind of do what she wants, and everybody around her is like, oh, the optics in that are real bad.
This whole episode is like every father's worst nightmare of their little girl going around wanting to have sex with everybody, so they got to lock them away.
I'm speaking to what Pat said too. I guess we forgot to mention that, yeah, she wasn't supposed to come out and emerge until the mate was there. And so it's just wreaking havoc because she emerged early. But we missed something really important, was she was going to volunteer to lock herself back up in the chamber only under the condition that Picard go and visit her. And Picard's like, I don't understand why you'd want me to come and visit you. And so they're going back and forth about that.
I believe that she's manipulating him.
Yeah.
I mean, if we play into the role of the script, it's her job to latch on to somebody. And she's going to latch on to whichever person is in her line of focus. She growls for war. She kind of banters with the miners. She just kind of does a romantic makeout with Riker. And now she's appealing to Picard's, psychosexual side, using intellect and culture, and not so much the overt physical overtures, but more of the getting in his head. So it's quite disruptive, but I refuse to believe people are so weak.
I think they were... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
It makes me sad to think that Picard really doesn't understand why anybody would be attracted to him. Because I think he really doesn't.
He's a good-looking guy.
He likes Crusher, but he doesn't necessarily think that she likes him the same way, even though she's given every indication that she does. And they have a great exchange later in this episode.
Oh, him and Crusher?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they're trying to push the concept of, just because we, in this scenario, have evolved to this high level of society, we still come from an animalistic nature. And with that, we have to overcome those types of urges. And it's on both accords. I mean, the men are all freaking out over her, but she's also really going after them as well. And it's interesting.
Yeah, I can't tell if Picard is actually into her and really trying hard to push her away, or if he's genuinely just not interested, but that she finds that it is her purpose to attract these men, and that she starts to lose her sense of identity if somebody is not attracted to her when they should be. And watching her kind of fall from that is really interesting. Wonder what happened. I mean, we saw her with Data, but also I just wonder what would happen if she was around an asexual guy.
Well, that's a good question. Well, even Data has sexuality, but you have to go to him and you have to tell him what to do. He's not going to initiate.
Yeah.
In this scene, this is an important scene. The Ferengi are trying to buy Kamala from the ambassador, and he basically refuses their offer, and they struggle, and he passes out by falling on a table, which I don't really understand. But anyway, I think this kind of drives home that she's not just a resource to be sold. She's a diplomatic tool. And I'm actually really glad they had the Ferengi in here to kind of foil away from the human smuggling part of this. If the Ferengi weren't there, I think everybody on the Enterprise would be much more suspect as to the true intentions of why she's going.
They say later on that that ambassador is 200 years old, and that was why they picked him for the mission, because there was some thought that if what happened now had happened and it was just the two of them, that he would be completely uninteresting to her. And I think it mirrors Picard here, who Patrick Stewart is 50 or 51 filming this episode. But he's playing a man that's 10 years older than that. And I honestly, watching this, think that he doesn't get why anybody would be attracted to him in this way. It just doesn't make sense to him. Her motives are suspect. It will turn out in a minute that he does really like her, that she's winning him over. That her winning him over doesn't matter to him in the grand scheme of things.
Oh, Picard is the Anthony Bourdain of space, where he has social anxiety and doesn't want to be around people one-on-one. He's very awkward in those situations, but he's very comfortable when he's on the job and in a group.
Sorry, I'm looking for him, and I'm like, he's got terrible mallet control there.
Don't even get me going. I have a 2-year degree in percussion.
I was gonna say we have a specialist here about this.
Why are you holding it like that? It's not cringe.
Yep.
So the reason why Picard is playing on this instrument with Kamala is because the ambassador was rendered unconscious, inoperable, whatever you want to call it, after the Ferengi attack. So Picard has to do the ceremony now. He's got to facilitate, which makes me wonder why she couldn't do it. I don't know. It's
well, she's part of it.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like you don't have a priest, so you're just going to marry yourself.
Yeah, which technically you can do, but that's stressful.
The Universal Church of Life does have a branch on the Enterprise.
I do find it interesting that they're essentially playing traditional style marimba, which is a African descent instrument, and then the other things that we have brought up about the slavery and that sort of thing, and there's definitely a lot of ties in there. Just saying.
And there is, in the background, there's a statue that looks like one of those African statues.
Yes,
it looks like a dog woman squatting. Yeah, there it is.
Oh.
You see there? Yeah, it's a dog woman on a vase. Holy cow! Jeez, did they pull some of the stuff out of Code of Honor episode?
I was gonna say, could you imagine if they had done this with the people from Code of Honor?
I think the show would have been canceled.
Yeah.
So we're having a conversation, talking about who she is, and she's questioning what her purpose is, and all she can think of is her programming. I am for you, Aldrich Gavalt.
That's exactly what I was saying, is that is her identity. She only finds her identity in being for somebody else.
Well, she was raised as a child to be someone else's property.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because they have somebody on the Enterprise who is, not only is not emotionally attracted to her, but also his whole purpose in life is to rise above what he was created to be, which is Data.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
You might have a few things to say to her about this.
How neat would it be if instead of Picard being the facilitator or the steward here, it was Data having these conversations with her?
That would be so cool. I feel like there's so many missed opportunities, like a conversation with Data, having Troy in this episode, I just think would bring so much more to it.
I bet his mallet technique would be better too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if Data's going to show him, it better be better.
Yeah, so the actress here, Famke Janssen, was offered the role of Jadzia Dax, and she turned it down. Terry Farrell was number 2, which kind of is mind-blowing in a lot of ways. Oh,
this is the dude.
There's Aldrich. Yeah.
That's who she was groomed for.
And he's very much like, I don't care about the women. I just want the diplomatic status.
It's like, for peace. It's like for science.
It would have been funnier if this was some very virile shirt ripping weightlifter who says, "I don't want to see my new wife. I want to see the contract." You know, what's really sad about this is that Aldrich here does not care that this woman is to be his prize.
Yeah.
Nope.
That's just kind of a tragedy.
It invalidates her.
Exactly.
But it also gives her a way out. Because if he doesn't care, then why should she proceed?
That's true. But then again, her identity is lost. Is like, well, this is what I lived my entire life for. Now what do I do?
Yeah, what's she gonna do now?
That's a neat little ship. Looks like a porpoise.
Just keep
Totally
barreling
something
it
Troy
more.
could have helped her with.
There's the dolphin.
Yeah. Like,
He's
nobody
a thoughtful man, well informed. That's basically like, he's got a good personality. Not very good looking.
It's like nobody has just said to her, "Hey, if this life that you were groomed for ceased to be an option, what would you do then?"
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of the reason why is because they're all afraid that their immediate response would be, "Well, you."
Ah,
It does make me wonder, like, who she would be the most attracted to if she wasn't basically betrothed at birth to somebody else. And I feel like she would be attracted to Picard because he's the hardest challenge.
Well, she'd
That
say,
the lights stay. Wait, what did I just miss? The lights stay on. He's gonna go in.
yeah, he's going to go in. He is going to have tea with her, but under the condition that it's just tea.
Uh-huh.
All of a sudden, I'm thinking of that really, that dirty Christmas song. Baby, it's cold outside. I really should go.
I hate that song. So
We could have a Picard Kamala duet, and Picard is the woman being pursued in that song.
South Park has a great rendition of that, featuring a fake, of course, Bill Cosby.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, South Park. So bad, but so appropriate.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, Rick Bierman was really pleased with how this episode turned out.
Good.
But there was some discussion on how this episode should end. They were thinking about shooting two different endings to this, and one of the endings was that Picard was imagining her not ending up with Aldrich and kind of being emancipated from the situation, but then it reveals it was just his imagination and that he would is witnessing this terrible event. The other one is where she says, though Picard's influence, she's been enlightened and is going off in search of adventure, leaving both men standing there. Unfortunately, this was overruled by the other writers. So
That's too bad. How I think they should have ended it. But great coming up here.
Mm-hmm.
There. This is as close as they get, really, to him, being flirty with her and her being open to it.
Can I take off my uniform for a moment, Captain?
I
need to talk to you as a friend. Well,
so you take off your uniforms for your friends. All right, Ed. Reading what you were reading about the possible ending, I think, I agree. Like, I think that would have been a really cool ending. Especially, I'm still like really this entire episode, I'm most intrigued by Picard and Kamala's relationship, because I actually think that Kamala is genuinely attracted to Picard because he's the only one that's not trying to use her. And she even said, you know, you're the only one not wanting to use me, and that's why I'm here for you.
Well, little does she know her future husband's not going to try to use her either.
Plot twist.
So we're having a conversation again about the nature of who she is, who the next man in the room is. He's finding himself that he's kind of admitting to Beverly he wishes he could be, you know, with her. And that he's so showing restraint. Yeah.
She's like, you need better friends. Like, literally, I'm going to come away from this kind of hurt. You know, we have all these almosts, and then you tell me that, like, you like some frankly random one.
It's like your crush going on and on about someone they like, and it's not you.
I was gonna say, I'm like, these two eventually end up together.
Yeah, they end up marrying and then they divorce, but they are still friends. Or is that an alternate universe one?
Right now it's an alternate universe. We don't know what if they ever got married in the Picard time. I don't think they did.
So I was gonna say, like, he's obviously not very interested in her in this part anyway.
Well, maybe she'll show up in the second season of Picard. We'll find out.
Look at that wedding dress.
Okay, so I was reading notes about how this is supposed to be, what was it? Like the most gorgeous dress a woman could ever want. No, that ain't it.
Where's Vera Wang? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, who did design this dress? I think it says up there. It was just the costume designer for the set. It wasn't like any big name wedding dress designer.
Looking at the gift idea, look at her, look at that sash. It looks like a bow going around.
Here, let me untie you from the back.
Yep.
All her hair's already up.
Yeah, there you go.
She doesn't need a hair tie, so that works.
Ooh, I like myself when I'm with him. Did she say she could or she could not say that?
She wants to be able to say that.
That's very important.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. She is admitting that she is bonded to Picard. So right now, Picard could get exactly what he wanted. But now the only thing in the way is line of duty. Is Picard going, this is a very thinly veiled, do I choose love or do I choose duty conversation?
Duty is a line that is way too wide for Picard to ever really be able to cross.
Well, he just gave a really big speech to Wesley 2 episodes ago about duty. The first duty of every Starfleet officer is to pursue the truth.
Yeah.
I thought that was the duty was the second thing. So
Shakespeare.
Oh God. What a tease all the way to the end.
Wow.
This woman is evil in all the right ways.
I love he put he's got a hat on. For a second I thought he had put a gray streak in his hair.
That would be hilarious. Yeah. Oof. Oh, she looks like such a why can't I think of the word? A mannequin there. She's not even moving. I like her veil though.
I am for you, Aldrich Gavalt. So Picard
and he said,
steps back. Now, when watching this as a kid, for some reason I thought there was an audience here of all the supporting cast, just making sure that this is a public and open ceremony. But I think these are the only 3 people in the room.
Yep.
Most awkward kiss ever.
I know. This is what happened. Slytherin's Mary Hufflepuffs.
Hey, the ship changed. What? That's not the same ship they had.
Well, they blew up.
Because it's the ambassadors.
Oh, that's the ambassador ship, not Aldrich's ship.
So when she said, I'm bonded to you, does it just mean, because there was that 2-day window of time or whatever after she's supposed to hatch? Is it because the time ran out, or is it because she actually wanted to Picard?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think because she spent so much time with him and he was playing hard to get, that made her want him.
So that is genuine then. That was not like, this is my duty to fulfill men's desires.
Or look at it in another way. She was doing her duty just as much as Picard was doing his. So they both were bound to go this specific direction, and aside from their better judgments, they decided to get the job done.
I like how the ambassador is like, how did you resist her? And he goes, have a nice trip home.
Right.
Non-answer.
Like, I did not resist her. You have fun now.
Yeah. He's going to have a cold shower with a few Shakespeare plays.
In, what was it? Something for
Holodeck 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Foreplay.
Oh, that's a good one. I like it.
That's the end of the episode. Look at that. Holy smokes. I don't know, folks.
No.
This episode hurt.
Yeah, I did not see this when I was 10. I was probably 24, 25 before I ever saw this episode, because it just didn't get a lot of replay on TV.
I wonder why.
Nobody remembered when X-Men came out that they had done a Star Trek together. It was more people noticed on Star Trek, like, oh, that's Professor X and Jean Grey on the same show.
Which is so funny because Jean Grey did not age at all. And when you see her as Jean Grey, she looks
completely
younger than how old she is here.
Yeah, well, it's only 8 years between the two projects, though.
Okay, that's fair.
The first day of production on this episode was on February 14th. So.
Great.
Well, there you go.
I love that the promo was like, it's Valentine's Day on the Enterprise.
Data just walks around with a huge construction card heart signed by a couple of kids. He's like,
do you like
what
me?
do I
Check
do?
yes or no?
I've had a very unusual interaction, counselor. Some children gave me this, and I do not know what to do with it.
That would be a fun episode to watch, actually, but
Yeah.
Before anything else, just because I am such like a linguistic nerd, I love the use of the word metamorph, because she morphs into what anybody wants, but then pairing that with metamorph, if you're polyamorous, being with lots of other people, and I like the play on words.
Yeah,
it's clever.
When watching this as a kid, I didn't give it a second thought. As a 13-year-old, I was just like, yeah, okay, it's another boring Star Trek episode. They're talking about feelings and not enough people are getting hurt or shot at.
Huh. Okay.
I mean, it was just, I don't remember being moved by it as a young guy. Watching it 2 days ago was the first time I watched it in probably about 10 or 15 years. And my jaw was open. Like, I was shocked that this was even a thing they were talking about. I could not believe it. And I was also kind of peeved that it was recycled again in Enterprise, which was in the 2000s. And, 10 years later, you think they would have been more progressive and wouldn't have these kinds of episodes, but they do.
They did it on Firefly, too.
Yeah, that's right.
Reynolds.
I kind of feel like this is a male fantasy sci-fi episode, and I'm kind of done with that. I'm going to give this probably a 1 or a 2 stars because of it. One or two Aldrich Gavults because of this.
Aldrich Gavults.
A wet fish handshake from Aldrich Gavult.
There you go. You kind of chimed on this, but you didn't give it a rating. How about, where were you sitting on this one, Pat?
Oh, I wouldn't give it a 1 because there are worse episodes of Star Trek than this one. but maybe a 2. Like I said at the very beginning, Picard is the wrong person to put in this situation. It would have been interesting to see, a Geordi deal with this, or Worf, who has a son that she could have been a mother to, and have that come into it, have her imprint upon him and Alexander. There are really no stakes for Picard in this, although Patrick Stewart does a good job with his facial expressions of showing us that he's going through something. We already know what Picard is going to do. He's not going to surprise us.
Would it have hurt or helped the plot had they had Troy or Beverly be the escort throughout the episode, and it turns into a commentary about misogyny?
Jem is right in that it would have been very interesting if it had been Troy, although because Kamala is never coy about what she wants, it would have made it even more male centric, because Troy would have just echoed what Kamala was saying, and so it would have been a lot of men talking about why they feel like it would have been right to be with her. If that makes sense.
Better yet, how progressive would it have been if Kamala would have imprinted on one of the female characters?
That would have been great, especially if it was Crusher, because of the whole "I'll sleep with Riker if there's a Trill inside of him, but not a woman" thing.
Oh, yeah, that was another missed opportunity too. Man, they were almost there so many times. Oh, well. Ed, what's your rating on this?
Yeah, like Pat said, I don't think I can give it a 1, but it's definitely not higher than 2.
All right. And Jem, how do you feel about it?
Okay, very funny, but I would give it 8 Ulrichs of Vault.
8?
Yes.
Whoa, 8 out of 5. That's not bad.
8 out of 10. Oh, I thought it was out of 10. My bad. Okay, so I would give it probably like a 3.5 out of 5. Because I take sort of the opposite approach that Sascha does, where I think that it's an important conversation to have brought up back then, and also when they re-aired it in the 2000s, because you were saying you were surprised that they aired it again. And there's just so much commentary that could be had about it. Like, are women supposed to be property? Are they gifts? What if they want to do what they're doing? Get like that sex worker conversation in there. So I think that that's very intriguing. I wouldn't give it like a full 5 out of 5, only because there were all of those missed opportunities, but I liked it. And I think if I would have watched it as a kid, I would have been very interested in it because I like the ones where there isn't like shooting and war and all of that. Like, I like the ones that kind of dive deep. Mm-hmm. So I actually really enjoyed this episode.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it takes us there and back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not going to change my rating, but you're absolutely right. And look at it, we're in a post. I don't know if we're post Me Too or in Me Too. Like I don't know where to put it on the calendar, but you can definitely notice a change in culture, mainstream culture, between this episode then and now. And I'm very interested to see how the response would be from millennials or Gen Zs on this one.
Yeah, when you said that about how you would have felt seeing it being a kid, I didn't get to see it as a kid, but I did go to school with a family that their daughter was in, this is in elementary school. Their daughter was part of an already arranged marriage. And it was funny because it was brought up, like she never talked about it, but our teacher mentioned it because we were in kind of a community school, and she was talking about like different cultures, and she said the girl's name was like, she is a fact of her life is that she does not get to choose her own husband. Mm-hmm. They have already found who she's going to marry.
Yeah. And how do people feel about that?
Yeah.
I mean, like my grandparents, my my paternal grandparents, they were an arranged marriage and they loved it. You know, they had no issues with that. And they were very much in love, you know, even though they were essentially strangers when they married. And then my maternal grandparents were not arranged. And, you know, I feel like their marriage was a little rockier. And so, yeah.
You know, it's really funny that we bring that up. I'm going to say something that I don't think a lot of you folks know. I think Jem knows this, is that when I was 18 or 19, an arranged marriage was proposed to me.
Oh yeah, you did tell me that. Yeah.
We had built some very strong relationships, family relationships with, I'm not even going to mention the country because this is going to get political real quick if I do.
Yeah.
We traveled abroad. We visited the family. We were really good friends with them. And someone saw an opportunity to get business ties in with the United States, and they saw me marrying their daughter as an opportunity to do so. So on top of me marrying their daughter, they would give me a full ride scholarship to XYZ University and then become partner in their business.
Huh.
And I turned it down because I'm like, I don't even know this person. That's not my value system.
Right. Like you marry for love, you don't marry for business.
Yeah. And I was nauseous when I found out about this, because it's like, how could you treat your daughter like this? And
makes me wonder how the daughter felt about it. Did anybody ask her how she felt about all of that?
I bet she was kind of relieved, because, you know, she was more of the more modern generation like I was. Without getting into much of it, that country at the time was kind of seeing vast differences between the two generations, just like the boomers and the Gen Xers and the millennials. You know, we're seeing the same kind of splits there too. But anyway, this is really goes into the nature of the prime directive is, do we have a right to judge another culture when they're outside our system?
Yeah.
And that's a tough conversation to have. So we're going to wrap things up here. I do applaud Jem for saying that there's, you know, you really called it out, that, you know, it's a bad episode that's good because we're talking about it so much and we're processing these values. Our next episode coming up is a fun little Red Rum episode called Imaginary Friend, where there is a little girl named Carla, and she is lonely and has a weird little creepy imaginary friend who decides to come and scare people. So yay. Until then, I'd like to say, folks, thanks for joining us and have a wonderful day. Music provided by lofigirl.com. Artists include Tenno, Daydreaming, BVG in Mondberg, Insomnia, WYS, Snowman, Be Calm and Banks, Because. Episode cover art created by Matthew Kirschner. Podcast logo and main cover art provided by David Clawwitter. Audio engineering done by Sascha Shouties